Hi, thanks for tuning in to Rachel's Little Table, where we're going to be making delicious allergy-friendly foods for kids, and especially with this recipe, I promise adults will love it too. Today we're going to be making butternut squash risotto, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be super creamy, even though we're not going to include dairy. And I'll tell you our secret right now. We're going to puree some butternut squash with some white kidney beans and a little bit of rosemary oil, and we're going to stir that into the risotto while it's cooking, and it's going to give us this delicious, creamy, healthy risotto. Now, to start on our risotto, I'm just going to turn the heat on my pan on low. This is so great for a fall day. I mean, coming home to creamy risotto without any allergens in it, this is going to be awesome for kids and adults. Just adding a little oil to our pan, and to that I'm going to add one chopped onion, which I've chopped a little earlier. A runaway onion. Just going to give that a stir and add some salt and pepper. So another thing that I did earlier today, and I like to do this, my son wakes up pretty early, so I like to do this, and I know I'm going to be making risotto later in the day. For example, right now he's asleep, so this is my chance to get some cooking done for tomorrow. So I knew this morning I'd be making this, so I just roasted my butternut squash ahead of time when he woke up. So basically, I just chopped some butternut squash, or you can buy the pre-cut butternut squash. That's a super easy time cutter. And I added some olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of cinnamon. So they smell really good. And I just roasted them in the oven on 400 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. So now we're going to top our risotto with this butternut squash that we already have made. And like I said, we're gonna add some of this butternut squash to our white kidney beans, and that's going to, just a little bit of water, that's going to give us a creamy texture to this risotto. And the great thing with risotto, and I'm just going to stir these onions and then let them cook on medium-high heat for about 5 minutes, and then we'll add our risotto to it. Okay. And the great thing with risotto is that it's a gluten-free alternative. So if you're looking for something instead of pasta to have that doesn't have gluten in it, this is going to be a really great option. So like I said, we're going to make our creamy base to our risotto. So all I have is a small Butternut, and I'm going to add a half cup of our cooked butternut squash. Oh, it really does smell so good. This is the best thing, a little more than a half cup. This is the best thing about fall. Fall is my favorite season personally, but one of the great things is that when you're cooking, you get all these delicious fall flavors, and this is one of them. And to our half cup butternut squash, I'm going to add a cup of white kidney beans. This is great because, as I've said before, I love sneaking protein and healthy food into my son's diet in all sorts of ways, and this is a great way to get beans into his diet that he wouldn't otherwise have. So this is a really awesome way to make our risotto a little healthier. Now, this is another one of my favorite things. What I also made earlier today was some rosemary oil. This is so easy. I took about 5 sprigs of rosemary and added it to about 1 cup of olive oil, and just let that heat on low for about 20 minutes, and then turned it off the heat and let it sit for another hour or so. And now I have rosemary oil. And same thing as I've said with garlic oil, having these flavored oils are great because they're an instant flavor burst without any effort later on. So I'm just gonna add some of, ooh, missed my Cuisinart there. I'm just gonna add some of our rosemary oil to this mixture. And then the other thing I'm going to do, just to loosen it up a little, is add a ladle of our vegetable stock. And that smells so good. And I'll just add this right back on. And this actually, if you make extra, is a great dip. It's really healthy, it's really yummy, and it's delicious with pita chips or pretzels. Okay, I'm just gonna grind this up. Okay, give it a stir. And like I said, I'm making this while my son's asleep. So especially when we're using any appliances that are a little loud, I have to constantly check and make sure we're good. He's still asleep. Now, one of my favorite parts is we're going to give this a taste. It's so good. Like I said, this is a great dip on its own. This is so delicious and so creamy. We have no dairy in here. We have no soy. All right, one more taste. So good. I will add a little bit of salt. And the cinnamon that we used on the butternut squash earlier gives it a slight warmth, which on a cold winter day, or sorry, a cold fall day or winter day, this is going to be perfect. Awesome. Right, I'll give it one more taste. It's awesome, and the rosemary flavor from the rosemary oil is so good. So I'm just going to keep stirring our onions. And to that now, I'm going to add 1 cup of our risotto. And this is going to cook up a lot. So 1 cup is easily going to feed, will easily feed 4 people. Especially when we add all of our butternut squash to the top. Okay. So 1 cup of our risotto rice is in. And we're just going to let that get a little toasty with the onions for about 5 minutes or so. And then I'm going to start ladling in slowly our vegetable stock. Hi guys, welcome back. We have been cooking our risotto for about 40 minutes, and I have just been slowly ladling in some of our vegetable stock. And after about 40 minutes, it is getting nice and creamy, and everything looks and smells so good. And now, the best part. Now we're going to get it really creamy. We're just going to take the base that we made earlier and add this to our risotto. So it's going to be nice and creamy, and we're going to get the added health benefits of all of the beans that we added to this mix. I can't help myself. So good. Now we're just going to stir this in as well. Wow, this is, I can even hear how creamy it is. I can hear it. And I can smell it. So we're just gonna let that sit there and stir for a couple more minutes. And what I've done with our butternut squash, because I said we cooked that earlier, so I just stuck that back in the oven to preheat, or sorry, to reheat. Oh, do you hear those? They smell so good. So that's our butternut squash that we've just reheated, that we roasted earlier in the day. Now, we're done with our stock, so I'm going to move that back. And just let our butternut squash sit there for a minute. Now, back to our rosemary oil. I'm just going to add a little bit of our rosemary oil in here to highlight that flavor, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Now we'll give it one final stir. So I'm just going to give it one final taste to make sure we don't need any seasoning adjustments. Nope, this is perfect. This is good to go. We are going to plate this up. So, now watch how creamy this is. Oh yeah. How awesome does that look? Get that out of the way. Now, we're going to add our butternut squash to the top of that. It's only going to keep looking yummier. Oh my gosh, and this just screams fall. And now we're going to give it one final drizzle of our rosemary oil right over the top. And look at that. That is a completely allergy-friendly, delicious, creamy risotto. That is dairy-free, soy-free, gluten-free, nut-free. I'm gonna give it one more taste. But full of flavor. That is awesome. You guys and your kids are going to absolutely love this dinner. Enjoy!